Iron Finance's Titan token plummeted yesterday by 100%. It went down to past zero, seemingly, and it took Mark Cuban along with it. So this is a pretty complex story, kind of like a lot of the DeFi stories we've seen over the last year. This one even more so because it involves something called a algorithmic stablecoin, which is where you have different assets backing a stablecoin in the attempt to try to like mimic the floating peg of the dollar with these other assets. So if you buy and sell those two other assets, it somehow pushes the stable coin, which is the third asset, towards $1. And the goal being that you want this stable coin to hold parity at $1 at all times. But unfortunately for this token, the price of one of the assets backing the stablecoin became wildly overpriced, leading to sellers taking some profits, and that led to a spiral, and the price just dropped all the way to the floor and then kept going. And then the stablecoin also lost parity, and people started taking out some other assets that backed that stablecoin, and so it just kept spiraling and spiraling and spiraling until it just totally collapsed. And then this kind of brought in the Mark Cuban angle because he was a liquidity provider for this stablecoin, and so he got rugged as well. And now he's calling for regulation of the stablecoin industry because he got rug pulled. So pretty funny story all around. Zach, I want to get your take on this. Do you think Mark Cuban's right? Should we regulate DeFi?
Was this, well, no. I mean, I think
this wasn't a rug.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the rug thing specifically, right? Was this like coordinated selling to drive? Is there any evidence to indicate that, or is it just sort of like hysteria that led to this precipitous drop?
So that's going to take a while to kind of figure out. Wrecked Finance, which does some great reporting on this, talked about how there was obviously some very broken mechanics within Iron Finance itself. And they are concerned that the team behind Iron Finance knew about it already, and then they cashed out beforehand. So it's still extremely speculative. Like, none of that is proven, but often these things are never proven either way because the whole crowd moves on and goes on to the next system that either breaks or makes everyone wildly rich. So probably unfair to call it a rug pull at this point, but it definitely was definitely going through like a death spiral of sorts. So whatever term you want to put on it, I think is definitely fair.
All right. Well, yeah, back to your original question. I mean, this is the decentralized and decentralized finance, right? It's hard to apply sort of consumer protections in this space. And I think Mark Cuban is rightly getting a little bit roasted on Twitter right now for calling for such things in an interview with Bloomberg. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see that, you know, this again is that figurehead effect. This is like the first this is the first potential rug pull or something that involves a new crypto figurehead who's really gone pretty hard into the space. This is on the Matic network. Polygon is something that Cuban has invested in. So this is interesting in that it's sort of like coalescing a conversation around DeFi stuff that previously only existed sort of in like different niche parts of crypto, but now we have like a figurehead involved and everyone is like, oh my God, what is this thing? What is happening? So it's interesting to see this story really gain steam because someone like that is involved. I think the roasting is fair and rather measured. The most I've seen. You can't call for the regulator cops to come in after you just get brutally wrecked. This should probably be seen as, you know, Mark Cuban's tuition at the School of Hard Knocks DeFi edition, rather than an excuse to call for the crypto cops. So that's my initial take. But yeah, I'm really curious about the additional reporting that's going to go into this to see if we can ever sort of ascertain motive or how this whole thing fell to pieces.
Yeah, we talk about. Sure. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jen.
I was just going to say, we talk about education so much on the show, and we tell everyone, you know, do your research, know what you're getting into, and you would think that Mark Cuban would have the resources at his hands to do his research and understand what he's getting into. And so I think a mainstream audience looking at this might get afraid to enter into the DeFi space, and also, you know, back Mark's comments on a need for regulation when it comes to DeFi. So, Will, I just wanted to get your get your opinion on that, since you know more about this than me, and I think probably everyone else on the panel. What should people be looking out for?
Well, I don't know. Zach's knee deep in this too. I would say that there's some interesting components about like figureheads getting involved with this. So Mark Cuban wrote a blog about Iron Finance beforehand, and there's been some anger at him for getting a lot of people involved in this very new project that seemingly had broken mechanics. So I would say, like, first of all, just don't trust anybody. You have to do your own research, and that can at some point include like going through code banks because you're putting money into a very new product. But I'll toss it to you, Naomi, before we close out this section.
Yeah, I just wonder what they think the government is going to do to help people protect them from their own decisions. Is the government going to be combing through these code banks and, you know, getting all their experts involved? Like, you're talking about a bunch of bureaucrats who mainly get people to print out emails so that they could read them. You know, these are not people who are going to be able to ascertain the risks involved with these projects. It infantilizes people to say, like, well, the only way to protect people is to make the government, you know, create laws to stop people, you know, making these decisions. It's like, well, why? You know, I think it's great, as you said, Zach, you know, school of hard knocks. Let this be a lesson to people. Yes, be out there and realize that there's no one out there to protect you, and you need to start taking responsibility.
You get 3 undos a year, Naomi. That's the regulation, all right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think credit to Ethereum guy Anthony Sassano, who wrote a little take on this morning. I thought captured it well. Like, people learn when they lose for the first time. So really the provocative conversation around education is, okay, we just saw it. We just saw the education. You're probably going to learn this time, Mark Cuban. And I think that's actually the interesting thing that we need to talk about on the education front.